Yo, what's good everyone? My name's Griffin Swanson and I'm here to talk some NHL DFS with you. Now, for most of you, this is probably the first time you've seen me on here, so let me break down how this video is going to work. For starters, here are the top 5 games with the highest implied game total on this slate. These games have what we like to call in the DFS industry shootout potential. And then down here, we have the top 5 teams with the best Vegas odds to win. Now, what we'll do to kick it off here is go over 2 of my favorite stacks on this slate. We'll then transition into my favorite individual plays, and then wrap it up with a low sub 4K value play. Sound good? Cool. Now, before we dive into those plays, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the Mayo Media Network channel. Don't want to miss out on any of the content that they're posting, and they got a lot of it, and it's good. And for those of you who feel like entering for a chance at some free money, I mean, why not? Pat's giving away $100 right now to people who subscribe to the channel and leave a 5-star review on the Apple Pods. That's it. Oh, let him know what your Twitter handle is too, so if you win, he knows how to reach out to you. So like, subscribe, review. All right, let's dive into these plays here. Kicking it off here with 2 line stacks that I'm going to be chasing on this slate. The first being that first line for the New York Islanders, Matthew Barzal centering Jordan Eberle and Anders Lee. This line looked great the other night against the New York Rangers, and the Islanders won that game pretty handedly 4-0, but these guys were by far the best line on the ice, and that makes sense. They've been playing together for quite some time now, and the chemistry is very real here. Honestly, this whole lineup top to bottom for the New York Islanders, they really haven't made a whole lot of changes on this team over the last couple of years, so they're playing the same structured game, and they looked really good out the gate. Again, particularly this line here, they had 3 goals and 1 assist combined in that game for a game that only ended up 4-0. So they scored 3 of those 4 goals. They play on the first power play together, and again, the chemistry is very real between them. Now, it's a very affordable stack here as well. Matthew Barzal and Anders Lee still below that 7K price range, and Jordan Eberle at 5K, very reasonable. So I'm going to go back to these guys here once again against the New York Rangers. And then the next line stack that I like here is that Carolina Hurricanes first line, Sebastian Aho centering Teuvo Teravainen and Nino Niederreiter. So these guys looked good the other night against the Detroit Red Wings. Hurricanes won this game pretty handedly themselves, 3-0, but they outshot the Red Wings 43-14. They dominated that entire game. And again, this line here looked good. The only downfall with this line is that Aho and Teravainen play on the first power play, whereas Nino, he plays on the second power play. He's still getting that power play ice time, but I wish all 3 of them played together. So if you wanted to do just a stack of Aho and Teravainen, that completely makes sense. But considering Nino's only $4,400 here, I'm not afraid to play him with those guys either, even though he doesn't play on that first power play with them. He did score a goal in the opening game against Detroit, so he's likely got some confidence with him now, and playing with Aho and Teravainen, you're going to get your chances and opportunities. So I like this line here. Again, you can do Aho, Teravainen, but I'm not afraid to go with Nino there either. All right, now we're hopping down to some of my favorite individual plays here. So there's 8 games here. I obviously like a lot more than just 4 forwards, but these are 4 forwards that are sticking out to me right now. You could definitely pair them up with the guys that they play with, whether that be on the same line, same power play, as long as they're getting ice time together. Now, with that being said, first guy that I like here is going to be Connor McDavid. McDavid showed us why the other night. He's $8,500. After being held off the score sheet in Game 1 against Vancouver, this dude comes out the next game, absolutely lights it up with 3 goals, 1 assist. Again, showing us why he's so expensive here. But $8,500, I'm not afraid to pay up for that for a guy with this much talent. He brings that multiple goal upside, multiple point upside every single night. So you can stack him up with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Maybe you pair him with Leon Draisaitl, who's 8.3K, so that's going to be tricky to fill out the rest of your lineup. But with that being said, this guy is too talented, has too many opportunities every single night to ignore, so I'm not afraid to pay up at $8,500. Now, for all you spell check warriors out there who saw that I got Connor's name wrong, I fixed it. It's 2 N's, I know that. It's not Conor McGregor playing here. That'd be quite interesting. Can you imagine him fighting on the ice? That'd be pretty damn cool. You'd probably get your leg kicked in the head or something, but In any case, I fixed his name. Let's hop into the next player here. And that player is going to be Max Pacioretty. This guy looked great the other night in their home opener against the Anaheim Ducks. You can pair him up with a guy like Mark Stone. If they had a better center right now between the two, I'd use that as a line stack. Unfortunately, that is Chandler Stevenson, and I just don't love him from a fantasy perspective. So, Pacioretty, more of an individual play for me, or stack him up with Mark Stone. You can even stack him up with a guy like Shea Theodore for that matter. But Pacioretty is a guy that you can expect shots from basically every single night, and he did that again in the home opener against Anaheim, scored a goal, had 5 shots on net. If I had to set a floor here for this guy, it's probably 3.5 shots per game with a ceiling of probably close to 8, 9, maybe 10. But 5 is usually that average. And once you get 5 shots on DraftKings, you get those bonus points. So that's always something to target. They're playing the Anaheim Ducks here once again. They beat up on them pretty good, especially in the third period the other night. Kind of started slow out the gates, but really found their groove there towards the end of the game. I expect them to handle their business here against Anaheim. That just doesn't look like a very good team top to bottom right now. So fire up Max Pacioretty. He should shoot the puck quite a bit. And then on the other side of that Oilers-Montreal Canadiens game, I like Nick Suzuki here at $5,000. He looked really good the other night in their season opener against the Toronto Maple Leafs. He had 6 shots on net, scored a goal, and really every time he got on the ice, he was making plays and looked very noticeable. On top of that, he had a super slick toe pull. I think I watched it on a loop 10, 15 plus times, but it was a dirty move. And again, this kid just looked really good every time he got on the ice. We honestly started to see this a little bit in the bubble, was starting to get some confidence in the playoffs, and it looks like he's carried that over to start the season here. So I'm going to fire him up at $5,000. I don't know if we'll see him that cheap the rest of the season. And then the last forward I want to highlight here is Brock Besser at $4,600. I believe this is too cheap for this guy here, especially in this matchup against the Calgary Flames, who aren't afraid to take penalties. Besser plays on that first line and first power play, and he's one of the snipers on this Vancouver Canucks team. They look to feed him the puck, especially on the power play. And I do foresee Vancouver being on the power play quite a bit in this game here. But again, this is a guy who's shown he has multiple goal upside, scored 2 goals in the season opener against the Edmonton Oilers, was held off the score sheet in the second game. So he does fluctuate a little bit, kind of rides a roller coaster. We've seen him hot at times in his NHL career, have some cold streaks as well. But again, he's surrounded by too much talent on this Vancouver team to ignore at $4,600, especially considering they should be on the power play quite a bit in this game here against Calgary. Moving on over to some defenseman plays that I like on this slate. I got 3 different guys there for you, kind of from each different price tier. Kicking it off there with Dougie Hamilton at 6.2K. This is a guy who scored 15 goals last year in 52 games. He's basically a point per game defenseman, which is huge in today's NHL. Again, I already talked about how I love this matchup for the Hurricanes against the Detroit Red Wings. They absolutely dominated game 1 against them, and although they only won 3-0, they absolutely peppered them in shots. So I like Dougie Hamilton here. He was actually in the 7K range to open up the season. Now we get an $800 price discount here, so sign me up for that. A guy who's coming off a season where he scored 15 goals in 52 games. Next there we got Quinn Hughes. DraftKings just doesn't want to price this guy up here. $5,200 seems to be the price that he floats around, which is fine with me because I'll continue to play him. He's had points in back-to-back games to start the season, and he played 25 minutes the other night. I do expect him to play a lot of ice time this year, maybe not 25 minutes every single game, but he's too lethal of a player to ignore at this price here, shoots the puck a lot, plays on that top power play, and again, when you're playing with guys like Besser and Pettersson, you're going to have scoring opportunities. So I love him here at $5,200, playing the Flames. Again, I expect them to be on the power play quite a bit. And then if we want to find a low-priced defenseman, we can do that with Alexander Romanov. This guy looked great in his NHL debut, way better than I would have expected a defenseman to start his rookie campaign. Now, that's not to say I didn't have high expectations for this guy, because I do, but defensemen, particularly rookies, kind of struggle out the gate. Forwards find their groove a little bit more because you can tend to hide forwards a bit, but defensemen, you can't hide a defenseman. You didn't need to hide Romanov the other night. He was spectacular, had an assist in that game, played 20 minutes. fire him up at $3,300 here because he's not going to be that cheap much longer. And then wrapping up my individual plays here with a couple of goalies. I'm going with two goalies here that I think can get a win on this slate. That's going to be Leonard here from the Golden Knights and Cam Talbot from the Minnesota Wild. So Leonard here, a bit shaky out the gate the other night against the Ducks. Did let 2 goals in right away, and this was a 2-2 game heading into the third period. And then I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Pacioretty, Vegas just opened it up after that and took it to the Ducks. So Leonard started to find his groove a little bit towards the end of that game, and I expect him to do the same here. There's always a potential that Marc-Andre Fleury plays, so keep an eye out for that. But I think the Golden Knights go into this game, handle their business, don't play games like they did in Game 1 and make this game close. I think they go in and win this pretty handedly, and so I'm going to fire up Leonard trying to get that win. And then Cam Talbot here, he looked great in his debut for the Minnesota Wild. He had 31 saves in that game, and they won it in overtime, so it was a little closer than I expected it to be. That Kirill Kaprizov, the real deal, by the way. That being said, Cam Talbot here, I think Minnesota, this is a team that's going to rally after that overtime win the other night. When your rookie does that, it always gives you confidence heading into the next game, and I think Minnesota goes in and handles their business a little bit easier this time against the LA Kings. The LA Kings are rebuilding right now, and they just don't look that great top to bottom, so I'm going to fire up Cam Talbot here once again, assuming the Wild can get a win. And then wrapping up my plays here with that low price sub 4K option, that's going to be Niles Höglander. So he's playing on that second line with Bo Horvat right now for the Vancouver Canucks, and then we got Tanner Pearson on the left wing. But this kid, he's played 2 games already for his rookie season. He's looked legit. And I kind of expected that. I was actually watching an interview from Bo Horvat right before the season started, and he was talking about how talented this kid is. Once they get JT Miller back, that top 6 in Vancouver is going to be awesome. Now, with that being said, once JT Miller gets back, we're likely going to see Höglander come off that first power play. So let's take advantage of that while we can. He is playing on that top PP right now, playing on the second line, but still getting really good minutes, and he's just looked like he's comfortable in his first 2 games here. Again, playing the Calgary Flames, I expect the Canucks to get on the power play, and if we can get Höglander here on that second line and first power play at $3,600 and continue to play about 15 plus minutes, sign me up for that. He's already got a goal here. He scored that in his NHL debut. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this video here. I appreciate you all tuning in. Again, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment below. What games do you like tonight? What players do you like? What bets are you chasing? We want to know as well. Best of luck to you all on this slate. I'm out of here.